Welcome to Section 1, Module 1, Part 1 of the FSSC 22000 Version 7 transition journey, focused on the scheme overview. In this opening session, we will take a close look at how the scheme has evolved, why those changes were introduced, and what they mean for organizations preparing for certification under the new version. This module is especially important because it explains the foundation of the entire scheme. Before we talk about detailed clause changes, audit preparation, or corrective actions, we need to understand the structure of version 7 itself. That means looking at the new prerequisite program framework, the revised category logic, the updated scope definitions, and the broader alignment with international standards. Version 7 is not simply a cosmetic update. It reflects a more modern and globally harmonized approach to food safety certification. The scheme has been redesigned to improve clarity, reduce overlap, and support better implementation across the food chain. In the following slides, we will examine the now versus then differences so that you can clearly see what changed from version 6 to version 7 and why those changes matter for your organization's compliance strategy. The most practical and visible change in version 7 is the overhaul of the prerequisite program, or PRP backbone. In version 6, organizations relied on a mix of ISO TS 22002-X documents, and in some sectors, BSI PAS 221. That structure worked for many years, but it also created variation between sectors and made it harder to maintain one common logic across the scheme. Now, in version 7, FSSC 22000 has transitioned to the ISO 22002-X 2025 series. This is a major modernization step because it reflects the updated international approach to prerequisite programs. The new framework creates a more unified foundation and reduces the fragmentation that existed in the earlier documents. Instead of operating with several older and partially different reference models, the scheme now moves toward a clearer and more coherent structure. The most important part of this change is the introduction of ISO 22002-100 2025, which serves as a common baseline for many food chain categories. This 100 standard helps define common PRP requirements that apply broadly, while sector-specific parts add the specialized controls relevant to each type of operation. In practice, this means organizations should think of the new framework as a layered system, one common base plus one sector-specific layer. For food manufacturing, catering, transport, and similar categories, this layered approach helps create consistency and makes it easier to compare requirements across different operations. For retail and wholesale, the move is even more visible because Category FI has now transitioned from the old PAS 221 model to ISO 22002-7 2025. This is a significant shift because it formally recognizes the unique operational realities of retail and wholesale businesses, especially where storage, distribution, and e-commerce are involved. So when we compare then versus now, version 6 was built on a mixed PRP architecture, while version 7 is built on a more harmonized, modern, and globally aligned PRP system. That change may appear technical on paper, but operationally it affects procedures, internal audits, supplier controls, training, and certification readiness. Version 7 introduces a much more granular structure in Table 1.1, and this is one of the most important improvements for scope definition and auditor competence. In the past, some categories were broad enough that two very different operations could still appear to sit under a similar umbrella. Version 7 reduces that ambiguity by defining subcategories more precisely, which helps both the organization and the certification body understand exactly what type of operation is being certified. For primary production, especially Category CO, and for animal products in Category CI, the scopes are now split more specifically by species or production type. This matters because the risks, controls, and competence requirements in a cattle operation are not identical to those in poultry, dairy, aquaculture, or other animal-based environments. By separating these categories more clearly, the scheme supports better auditor matching and more accurate certification boundaries. For processed foods in Category CIV, the subcategory logic is now more closely tied to processing technology. That means the nature of the operation, whether thermal processing, extrusion, beverage production, or another technology-based activity, becomes a key factor in defining scope. This approach is more practical because food safety hazards often depend more on process technology than on product name alone. For packaging in Category I, the classification is now more closely linked to the packaging material, such as plastic, paper, metal, or glass. This helps ensure the audit team has the correct technical background for the specific materials and processes in use. It also makes the certification process more precise because packaging operations can vary greatly depending on material type, migration risk, sealing method, storage conditions, and end-use application. Overall, this subcategory refinement is designed to create a better fit between the certified scope and the actual risks of the organization. In other words, version 7 wants the certificate to describe reality more accurately.
To navigate the transition effectively, it is important to use the change sheets in a structured way. The first step is to compare the version 6 and version 7 clauses side by side. This is important because a clause number may remain the same, while the actual meaning, scope, or interpretation changes significantly. A quick scan is usually not enough. You need a disciplined comparison process. The second step is to focus on the exact change box. This is where you identify what was added, removed, reworded, or clarified. These change boxes are especially useful because they give you a direct view of the revision, instead of forcing you to interpret the entire document line by line. The third step is to apply the action point at the end of each sheet. This is where the document becomes operational. It tells your team what to review, what to update, and what to verify internally. For many organizations, this is the most valuable part of the transition exercise because it turns technical clauses into practical implementation tasks. Using the change sheets properly will save time, reduce confusion, and help prioritize the work that really matters. Instead of treating the transition as a single document review, you can break it into manageable actions, assign responsibilities, and track completion in a structured way. Let us now look at what is driving these changes. In version 6, the scheme was influenced primarily by earlier ISO 22003 requirements and by support for the Sustainable Development Goals. Those influences were important, but the updated version 7 framework reflects a broader and more current set of drivers. Now, in version 7, the main normative force comes from the new ISO 22002-X prerequisite program series and from the GFSI 2024 benchmarking requirements. This is a major shift because it ties the scheme more closely to the latest international expectations for food safety certification. It also helps ensure that the scheme remains relevant in global trade, retail recognition, and certification benchmarking. Another change is in terminology. The scheme language has been simplified, and voluntary modules are now referred to as addenda. This may seem like a minor wording update, but terminology matters in certification systems because it affects how people understand the document structure, the scope of application, and the status of different provisions. There is also an important accreditation-related update. The scheme references Global Accreditation Cooperation Incorporated, or Global ACI, within the broader recognition framework. That means organizations should carefully review how they refer to accreditation recognition in policies, manuals, training documents, and external communication. Even if the underlying management system has not changed dramatically, the wording used to describe it may need to be updated for consistency. In practical terms, this slide tells us that version 7 is not just a content revision. It is also a structural and documentary modernization that affects terminology, benchmarking, and how the scheme is positioned in the wider accreditation ecosystem.
Strategic integration is a major theme in version 7, and one of the clearest examples is the broader link with FSSC 24000 and social sustainability. This reflects an important trend in modern management systems. Food safety is no longer treated as a standalone discipline. Instead, it is increasingly connected with labor expectations, ethical practices, sustainability, and responsible business behavior. For food manufacturing, one notable update concerns foods for special dietary or medical purposes. In version 6, these products may have been included under certain circumstances, but in version 7, the wording is stronger. If such products are legally classified as food, they shall be included in Category C. This move removes ambiguity and helps organizations avoid confusion about whether a product falls within the certified scope. That stronger wording matters because scope decisions are one of the most important parts of certification planning. When scope is unclear, audit preparation becomes harder. documentation becomes inconsistent, and the risk of nonconformity increases. By making the language more direct, version 7 reduces uncertainty and improves consistency across the scheme. This also means organizations must review product definitions carefully. A food safety manager can no longer assume that a borderline product is outside scope unless the legal and scheme definitions support that position. Version 7 pushes organizations toward better legal awareness, better classification discipline, and more precise internal decision-making.
Version 7 also clarifies terminology and boundaries for several service-based categories, and these changes are especially useful for organizations operating in retail, food service, storage, and distribution environments. Category E has been expanded from catering to catering/food service. This broader heading better reflects the reality of modern food service operations, which may include on-site preparation, bulk meal distribution, commissary support, delivery, institutional food service, and hybrid service models. The new wording captures a wider range of operations and helps the certificate reflect the actual business model more accurately. Category F now includes clearer guidance for situations where a manufacturer also performs wholesale activities at the main site. This is important because some organizations have mixed operations and may not immediately realize that a separate FI scope may be needed. The clarification helps determine when wholesale activity is simply part of the main operation and when it becomes a separate certifiable function. Category G has also been clarified to cover storage services provided to other organizations, including sister companies. This means that storage is not judged only by whether the facility belongs to the same corporate group. What matters is the nature of the service being provided and whether the operation is effectively handling goods on behalf of another entity. If so, Category G certification may be required in addition to the main site scope. These clarifications are very practical because they reduce scope disputes. They help organizations, auditors, and certification bodies apply the scheme consistently, especially in multifunction businesses where boundaries between production, storage, distribution, and service can overlap. Taken together, these changes show that FSSC 22000 version 7 is more than a routine update. It is a structured modernization of the scheme's foundation, its scope logic, its category definitions, and its alignment with the latest international expectations. For organizations preparing for transition, the key message is to start early, review carefully, and treat the scheme as a system that must be understood holistically, rather than clause by clause in isolation. When you understand the difference between version 6 and version 7 at the structural level, the rest of the transition becomes much easier to manage. You can plan your documentation updates more effectively, align your team training more accurately, and prepare your certification strategy with greater confidence. This concludes Module 1, Part 1 of the scheme overview. In the next module, we will go deeper into the practical requirements, implementation implications, and the specific actions your organization should take to close the gap between where you are today and where version 7 expects you to be.